Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It is Monday, May 25th, 2026, and you are listening to episode 232 of Midnight Film Society. Your host, Damian Sherman. Joining me today, as always, is
Derick McDuff.
On today's show, a whole host of horror movies came out in the last couple weeks, along with the newest entry in the Star Wars Cinematic Universe, The Mandalorian and Grogu. Derick and I will go over all of that later on. But before that, we'll go over some movie and TV news, discuss more about what we're watching, and finish up with our Letterboxd assignments. Right into the show, Midnight Film Society, gmail.com, Midnight Film Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd. Subscribe on Pocket Cast, YouTube Podcasts, and Spotify. Rate and review it on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend, family member, or stranger. What's up, dude? How are we doing?
We are doing well. As I was just, talking to you about before we hopped on mic, I just got back from my cruise, so I am feeling rested, I'm feeling tan, and I am feeling ready to talk about some movies.
Nice. Is it one of those cruises that stops at places, or are you just on the cruise the whole time?
Yeah. It does. It's not. It actually has destinations. I feel like there's a couple that are cruises to nowhere, but most of the time, you're stopping in places. So this was a cruise. We left out of Long Beach here in Southern California, and did a couple stops in Mexico, Cabo San Lucas and Mazatlan.
Nice. Have you been there before?
Yeah, I've been to both of those places. But honestly, for me, it's mostly being on the ship. That's where I vibe with.
Yeah. You're saying you were watching a bunch of movies. Anything good? Anything you haven't seen before? Any notable things you watched on the cruise?
There's a couple things. There's because I did up on the main Lido deck. They have the big screen and they'll play the movies there, and like there was Zootopia was on and a couple times, and I watched. There was like a late night showing of Roofman one night, which was fun, and there was so there was a few, but then you can also watch movies in the room, and there's ones to buy, or you could just like get some for free. So there's a couple that I might be talking about here, but it was cool to see. I also saw Eternity up on the big screen up there. I talked about that last time. I really enjoyed that movie. I think I liked it even more watching it this time around. But yeah, I mean it's always fun up there, and they usually do the kid ones during the day, and they do like the more mature movies at night.
Nice, very cool. I've always had a fear, not an actual fear, but it's just all the stories you hear of like outbreaks and stuff like that, and people dying, and just I think my mom goes on a lot of cruises, and I think the cruises that she describes are the kinds that I would want to avoid, of just like, it's just a cruise with drinking and gambling, and that's kind of all there is to drink and eat and gamble. And I'm like, that doesn't sound very good. So maybe the type of cruise.
That's a lot of that going on the cruise. Too, it's just kind of do whatever. I mean, I did have the drink package, so there was a lot of drinking happening, and I did lose $70 at the table, so there was also that.
Yeah, what's your game?
Roulette. A lot of double zeros came up this time. I was I won once and lost all of my money, so I only gambled for about 30 minutes, and then I was like, well, that's enough of
that's
that.
All my money. Yep.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, very cool. Do you want to say the name of the cruise you were on?
I was on the Carnival Panorama.
Nice.
So 360 degrees of fun.
Okay, here we go.
That is not an actual catchphrase from the Carnival Corporation.
Well,
that is a Derick original. Yeah, exactly. So
you
guys got that one for free.
Yep.
I actually got a second time being on this specific boat, because it does, I think, operate out of the West Coast. So went on a couple of years back. It's a cool boat. I really like the big screen up on deck. I talked about last time I was on it. That's where I watched John Wick 4, which I've talked about previously on this podcast. That being a really cool theatrical, for lack of a better term, experience. They call it dive-in movies because you're right there next to the pool. So other ships have that same screen, I think, but I like the panorama one quite a bit.
Nice. If I was programming a film series on a boat, I'd be the troll, I'd be the asshole, I would program like Poseidon, Titanic, just any movie with a boat sinking. It would be my everything I put on there. Just to be a dick.
Just on the big screen. Like, it's funny because like there are some like weirdly boat movies that are like in like you can watch, like Pirates of the Caribbean 3 was like one of the ones I watched like in the cabin.
Yeah.
And there's another one that will be relating to the cruise that I'll be, I've seen before, but I put it in the list of things I've been watching. But yeah, there's some weird, like there was somebody who was wearing a Titanic shirt. And I was like, that's a bold fucking move coming onto a cruise ship.
Yeah. All right. It's very cool. Glad you had a good time on that. Let's move on to some movie news. The Cannes Film Festival, 2026 Cannes Film Festival, just wrapped up. Everyone that's listened to this podcast over the last couple of years has known what a big Cannes head I am, even though I've never been there. This year, I was just watching a video with Sean Fennessy. Him and Amanda Dobbins went there for the first time. So, it's one of those things. As if you get really deep into cinephilia, if you get really big into movies like we do. If people aren't aware, Cannes is one of the, if not the biggest film festival out there. It's kind of the one that a lot of movies not debut at, but really make their worldwide premiere at. So yeah, it's always, going to a film festival is something I've always wanted to do. Haven't really managed to do that yet. I will be going to. This is a bam announcement here live. My buddy got me. Yeah, my buddy got me, just like you got me, pass to the Cannes Film Festival, not the Cannes, to the San Diego Comic-Con Festival in 2024. My buddy got me a all-access pass to the Berkshire International Film Festival, so I'll be attending that this coming week. So I'll have bunch of news, probably see a bunch of movies there this coming week. So super excited for that. But yeah, getting back to the Cannes Film Festival. Derick, you've been on the cruise this whole time. That was when the festival was going. You didn't have much internet there. So is all of this news I'm about to unload on you completely brand new to you?
It's all new to me. I was on the Panorama. We had the film festival there where they were playing Eternity and The Bad Guys too. But yeah, the Cannes, I missed that.
Yeah. What else would I say about this? Oh, do you think I'm weird for being this into this, like obsessive and like watching all this footage, watching all and consuming all of this coverage, consuming all of these podcasts? The in addition to the Big Picture, Film Comment, Davika Garish, the host of that, does an amazing job of hosting this. Do you think, Derick, that I'm a weirdo for being this invested in this festival coverage?
Damian, you're weird. You're a weirdo for many a reason. This is not. If somebody came to me and like, what are the top 5 reasons that Damian is weird? I don't think this would crack the list. But
okay,
it's a little unusual. But
I will take it. I will take that. So yes, the 2026 Cannes Film Festival is coming to a close. I'm reading from the IndieWire article they posted. So it's all done. This will be a summary of all the award winners this year. For those that don't know, Neon has won the past 6 Oscars, past 6 Cannes Film Festival Palme d'Or winners. And just a little peek behind the curtain, the way it works is these movies come to the festival and distributors come here and see the movies and get like a preview of them, and then they'll bid on them. They'll bid on the movies to then distribute them to the rest of the world. So Neon and A24, when you hear names like that and be like, oh, their movie won the Palme d'Or. Not really. The movie won the Palme d'Or and Neon picked it up to distribute it. So it's not like they made it, they didn't like send it there, they didn't promote it at the Cannes Festival. They just pick it up presuming that it'll be one of the winners, or presuming that it'll be a big movie going forward, and winning the Palme d'Or is just kind of a confetti, sort of a what's the word? Something on the cake. The little frosting on the cake that it won the Palme d'Or. So, anyways, Neon has won. Neon's movie. Neon picked up the movie that has won the Palme d'Or for the 7th year in a row. Christian Mungiu's Fjord. This was on one of my most anticipated movies of the year back in January. But for those that can't remember that back far, who haven't listened to that podcast, Christian Mungiu is the director of 4 months, 3 weeks, and 2 days, which won the Palme d'Or in 2007. Mungiu isn't the only repeat winner from the article. Fatherland filmmaker Pavel Pavlovsky, who won Best Director in a tie with The Black Ball. Filmmakers Los Javis also won Best Director in 2018 for Cold War. South Korean director Park Chan-wook headed the jury as the president. Some other notables on that jury this year were Chloe Zhao, Demi Moore, Ruth Negga, and Stellan Skarsgård. The Palme d'Or is a distinguished prize for best first feature, the Camera d'Or. Now they're moving on to other prizes. Well, let's just circle back. Derick, what do you think of this movie, Christian Mungiu's Fjord, winning the top prize. It also stars my lady, my gal. I saw lots of pictures of her at the Cannes Film Festival. Renata Rysev. This also stars Sebastian Stan, reuniting from their project a couple years ago, A Different Man. Derick, what's your thoughts on this movie winning the Palme d'Or?
I guess I'll have to see it. I know this is the first I've ever heard of it even existing. So, you know
buddy,
what? But I'm sure
you were there when I mentioned this.
Fjord?
You
I was
were
there.
You were on the podcast when I said this is one of my most anticipated movies back in January. Fjord, yes.
It was not on the. It was on your top 10. Okay,
yes,
well,
yes.
You know, I guess this is the. What number was it, Damian?
Great question. Let's see.
But yeah,
yes.
Well, then I didn't remember it. This one. Yeah, I mean, sure, like cool. You know, I'm like Neon as a distributor. They always seem to pick up good stuff. So I'm sure this one will be interesting. I'm sure I said I'm sure when you mentioned it, I said something about your girl Rihanna instead.
Yes.
So yeah. I mean, I'll be interested to check this one when and if it comes out. I know sometimes things can take a little while, but it does have a distributor, like you said, so should be here sooner rather than later.
Yes. My apologies. It was not my most anticipated. I thought it was because
you're fucking gaslighting
so
me.
Many.
I was like, I don't remember that. You gaslighting me. Wow.
Let's see. So yeah, it was not on my list. I had the Entertainment System is Down, which was not at the Cannes Film Festival. It was supposed to be, I believe, there this year. The movie from Ruben Östlund. I think he won past Palme d'Ors for Triangle of Sadness. Yes, not on my list. Apologies for that.
See, I was like, all right, thank you. I was like, am I going crazy?
What's happening here? Yes, back to the article here. So we have some other prizes going out to, let's see, I thought they had all of them listed here. Let's see, yeah, Palme d'Or went to Christian Mungiu's Fjord. Minotaur got the Grand Prix, which is the second runner-up. Minotaur by Andrei Szezavskis. I don't know how to pronounce that. There's so many consonants. Zvyagintsev. Yes, a movie. I've listened to, people should go back and listen to Film Comments coverage of all these movies. They do a really good breakdown of what they're about and all that stuff. Let's see. Like I said, Best Director went to Javier Calvo and Javier Ambrosi for The Black Ball, and it tied with Pavel Pawlowski for Fatherland. I think this person did a movie I liked a few years ago. Let's see. Pavel Pawlowski. Oh, yes, he did Ida back in 2013. Great little film. Let's see here. Best Actress went to Virginie Efria and Tao Okamoto for All of a Sudden. All of a Sudden is the new, what is the guy's name? Director I liked very much of Drive My Car. Ryusuke Hamaguchi, that's his new film, which got really good reception there. Best Actor went to Emmanuel Macchia and Valentin Campaign for a movie called Coward. A bunch of movies that'll be coming out this year. I feel like this year is a very, listening to the Film Comment, listening to their coverage, the feeling I got coming away from this year is kind of a more subdued year, more subdued meaning like there wasn't a really big standout as far as like, oh, this acclaimed past director has their new movie out, or this actress has made a big splash, or this movie is very, controversial for whatever reason. Very subdued for a year, and you can kind of tell based on these names that I'm reading, where I can barely pronounce them, haven't really heard of the actors, haven't really heard of the directors. So yeah, it's kind of a more subdued year in that aspect.
Yeah, I'm not a lot that I clicked into either, to be honest. That like you said, this was not really, a lot of the stuff was not on my radar. But that ends up being a lot of the best stuff. I think sometimes is stuff that isn't on your radar that catches you off foot, catches you by surprise.
Yeah, catches you flat-footed, caught off guard, something like that. Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. Flat-footed.
Yes. So we'll see. We'll see this stuff. For those that aren't aware or in the know, Sundance is kind of the big first time people get eyeballs on anything, really. And then it goes to Cannes, where they get some more eyeballs. And then I think Toronto International Film Festival in September, you get some more eyeballs, and you get even more movies coming out there. So this is kind of the first showing for a lot of the movies we'll be talking about for the rest of the year.
Yeah. So this is about the time because I think we're gonna do our best of the year so far for in the next episode or two,
Yeah.
and then it'll be like, okay, how much of that is gonna be the stuff that came out the first half of the year, and then
Yeah.
how much is gonna be after this. When we do our end of the year is gonna be this kind of thing because I feel like the back half of the year with some summer blockbusters and stuff does end up being a lot of these things that come out of the woodwork here in the film festival circuit.
Yes, absolutely. All right, let's move on to some really amazing news for horror movies in general, and one specifically. I have an article here that I added. This first article I added a couple days ago, where there is an update. Let's see, is this the old one? Yes. Okay, so first of all, first article from May 18th. Obsession opening ratchets it up to $17 million, and that is on a budget of less than $1 million. So it has done very well in its first week. So yeah, any comments on that so far? Very good, $17 million opening, doing very well, right?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to like this is a film that it actually increased. Is the second weekend out, right? Did it increase in sales from between the first and second week, which I know is a rare thing.
Yeah, that's what it's leading to.
Okay.
Yeah. Second
Yeah.
week. We are in a second week. Yep, we're recording this on Sunday. So this published today, May 24th. Obsession slated for historic weekend, as the Mandalorian and Grogu scored 82 million. But in the more relevant news, Obsession came in here. It drew in 17 million on its first weekend, is on track to gross 22 million on Sunday, an increase Variety has called virtually unprecedented. And it really is because, again, for those that aren't aware, a movie comes out, its first opening weekend is almost always its biggest weekend. It is extraordinarily rare for a movie to make more money on its second week than its first week. So this really speaks to sort of the word of mouth about this movie, about how good it is, right?
Yeah, people are excited about it. Like you said, this is an incredibly rare thing. Like, one of the few other movies that's ever done this is Back to the Future.
No, wow.
Where it does through good word of mouth, it does actually get a bump, as opposed to, especially with horror movies, there's usually a pretty big fall off. But yeah, like I think that the word of mouth has been very, very good on this thing. People are excited about it. People are, not just that it's good, but it's like this is a fucking movie. You gotta watch. How can you? This movie's insane. You gotta see this shit.
Yep.
Kind of one of those type of movies. So, glad people are going to the theater. And this is anecdotal, but I just saw it last night and I was like, okay, let me just there's a bunch of different times. There's a lot of times actually. This is interesting. Let me see when I go out. I'm like, oh well, this one's almost sold out. It had to sit in the front. Well, then this time,
Wow.
looking every time, I'm like, wow, this thing. It's like. It's like opening day for like a huge summer blockbuster, and it was Saturday night of week 2,
Yep.
for
Yep.
a horror movie. So it was wild to see that, to like be like, I can't find two seats together that are not in like the fucking like front of the theater. So yeah, this thing is, and that was across multiple theaters, across multiple showtimes.
Wow.
So speaks to the power of this movie right now.
Movies are back, baby.
Yeah.
Andy's going to go see The Sheep Detective this past weekend, and he texted me that one of his showings that he wanted to go to was also sold out. So yeah, movies are back, and it will never not be back. So this will not be the last time we ever say movies are back. They will always they're back, and they will always stay here. We'll definitely never have a conversation about how bad they are.
No. Don't even put that into the universe.
Nope. So yes, we'll be talking about the movie itself, Obsession, later on. But first, I have a bunch of movies to go through. Again, the year of the one movie a day challenge keeps rolling on, baby. So yeah, let me clear my voice here because we got quite a few to go to. Speaking of horror, I checked out a movie called Horror Express. This kind of came out of nowhere. This movie is from 1972. Stars Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing and Telly Savalas, the Kojak himself, Telly Savalas, the bald guy who also played Ernst Stavro Blofeld on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and I believe a couple other films later on.
Yeah, he's the doctor in Halloween.
Is he the doctor in Halloween? I don't believe so. I thought that was somebody.
He's Blofeld then, unless there's multiple Blofelds.
Yeah, there were multiple Blofelds. Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. The doctor in Halloween would play the doctor many times. Doctor
Michael. Michael, you've got to kill her, Michael. We've got to kill Michael.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
Loomis, Dr. Loomis was played, obviously, by the lauded and professional Donald Pleasance. Yes.
Yeah, Donald Pleasance.
Yeah.
Also played a bird in The Thief and the Cobbler.
I was not aware of that. Donald Pleasance played him, and then of course Malcolm McDowell played him in the Rob Zombie Halloween films. Yeah.
The movie that everyone remembers and likes.
Yes, Jesus. Man, that Halloween, just to change it for a second, Halloween has had some major up and downs, a lot of downs, mostly, with the, I haven't seen, I think I saw I've only seen the first one of the most recent trilogy, the new, what was the first one called? Just Halloween? Because I know there was,
Halloween.
And then there was Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends, right? Were the other two? Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, oof. Ends and Kills are rough. Like Halloween 2018 is fine.
Yeah.
But the next two are real bad.
Yeah. Back to Horror Express. Let's see. They had a name. Okay, yeah. The original name was so much better. It was called Panic on the Trans-Siberian. So much better name. That was in Spanish. But yeah, really good classic. Like, it's starring Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. So two guys that were both in. I mean, I know Peter Cushing was, but I think Christopher Lee also did sometime in the. What were they called? Not the Universal horror movies, the Hammer movies, the Hammer horror movies back in the 60s and 70s. So yeah, very, very akin to those. It's sort of like a sort of an alien thing takes possession of people's bodies and pretends to be them. And the only way you know that he's not human is to turn off the lights and his eyes glow in the dark. So yeah, very, very cool classic 70s horror thing. Yep. Definitely recommend checking that out. It's on Amazon Prime. Yeah,
okay,
very cool thing.
Mean, interesting.
It's one of those. Yeah. Next up, we have The Conformist, classic Italian spy movie from 1970, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci. His name was brought up a couple months ago, maybe a month ago, when I watched The Last Emperor. He's also directed that one, and let's see, he did The Dreamers in 2003. Great. Just a great movie. It's just 2003 erotic romantic drama directed by him. Stars a very young, let's see, what's her name? Ava Green. Also stars Michael Pitt and Luis Guerrero, which, let me link you this guy's name. He's got one of those faces. You're like, oh yeah, that guy, that's the guy, that guy's face. I've seen that face before. Let me pull it up and link it to you. But yeah, back to the Conformist. Bernardo Bertolucci's Conformist. Let's see if there's a synopsis. I know Letterboxd was down for a little bit. Let me see if I can find it again. So the synopsis is, set in the 1930s Italy, the Conformist centers on a mid-level fascist functionary who is ordered to assassinate his former professor, an anti-fascist dissident in Paris. His mission is complicated after he begins an affair with the professor's wife, Sandra. So it's a little bit like The Last Samurai, where it's this guy who's tasked with being an assassin and tasked with doing violence, but he's never done it before, and he's very inept at it, and he just kind of wants to sleep with a bunch of women. So yeah, it's interesting, one of those. Right. I think a lot of these movies are designed to expose the fallacy at the heart of fascism, which is they're all just cowards at the end. No spoilers, not big spoilers, but the movie very much ends with him, the invasion of the Allies into Italy, and him kind of pretending not to never be on their side, and even says to he's in this like dingy part of town near the end, and there's like protests in the streets. I think this is just after oh Jesus, what's the name of the Italian fascist? Mussolini, thank you. Yeah, after Mussolini dies, and there's protests in the streets, and he gets caught up in it, and he's not only pretends not to be fascist, but then fakes, tells him, oh, this buddy, my buddy right here, he's a fascist. He's the guy. He's the fascist. And it's like the cowardice and the lack of conviction at the heart of fascism and the heart of these movements is really exposed here. So I thought it was a really good example of that. So yeah, you can check out The Conformist.
Appropriate for the times.
Very appropriate for the times. Yeah, you can stream that right now on Canopy. Canopy, great little thing there. If you have a library card, you can get up to 12 tickets, I believe, depending on your location. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to things I saw in the theater, not this week, but the past week. I caught up with The Devil Wears Prada 2. I just recently saw the first one not too long ago. Directed by, again, just like with the first one, this is directed by David Frankel. This stars Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, and Emily Blunt from the first movie. Adding to the cast, we have Justin Theroux, Kenneth Branagh, and Stanley Tucci. Well, Stanley Tucci was actually in the first one. Yeah. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good one of those, you know. It's it does have that thing that people talk about a lot, which I think maybe has gotten over talked about a little bit, which is that like Netflix, but also it's an Amazon thing of just very flat, washed out colors and just no shadows. Everything is in shadow, so there's really no extra light coming from anywhere. So if every interior scene feels very, flat, bland, just really, which is a crime really with a movie that's supposed to be about fashion and color and expressive,ness. Just to have this movie shot in such an unexpressive way is really kind of dour, really kind of shitty. So yeah, I didn't really like that part of it, but yeah, it's one of those things where like, oh, it's so good to see these people again together doing the same thing they did before and seemingly having a bunch of fun doing it. So if you like the first one, should check it out.
Okay, all right, yeah, get in the band back together. It's one of those sequels.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, I need to
yeah,
watch this. It's on my list. Like I do. I only recently saw the first one earlier this year.
yeah,
It's been on my list for things I need to watch. Probably will go see it with my girlfriend. Hopefully soon, because yeah, first one's a lot of fun.
yeah, definitely was. Next up, the same day, I saw In the Gray, the newest feature from Mr. Guy Ritchie. In this one, we got Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal, Isa, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, Isa Gonzalez, I think. Yeah. Fisher Stevens and Rosamund Pike. This is the latest one of those. This is, bunch of guys, bunch of covert ops tasked with kidnapping a guy. Or was he kidnapping him? No, I'm sorry. In this one, they are just blackmailing a drug kingpin, and basically their whole plan was to like sabotage his operation by he's got his money in all these different construction things in the Saudi Arabia, so they sabotage that by making the things so his blueprints weren't right with the thing where they put in they put in design blueprints and they were like, oh, you put in 10th floor, you didn't say we're going to do that, so we're going to shut you down. And then of course they catch wind of it, then they have to go in and do some shooty stuff. It's one of those. It's a 2026 or it's a 2020s Guy Ritchie caper, in the same vein as like a lot of his recent stuff. I don't have it pulled up, but I know you've checked out some of his recent stuff, right?
I generally liked a lot of late period Ritchie stuff.
Yes.
The Covenant was like a really solid movie. I love the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare.
Yeah.
So modern Ritchie is very different than I think what people think of as Guy Ritchie. But I do like a lot of his. He just makes really competent non-franchise action stuff. And that's not something you get a lot of these days. So it's nice to see that. Like it's like, oh, this is it's like mid-budget movies. There's not a lot of people who can still get those made. He's not, making huge movies, but he's one of the few people who still has, like, he knows movie stars, so he can get these movies made. Is essentially why this happens. So he can get a Henry Cavill, he can get whoever in these movies, so that he has enough cultural cachet to be like, all right, give me $20 million, whatever it might be, to make a shooty bang bang movie.
Yes, perfectly cromulent, perfectly. It's a what do we say? It's a competently made cromulent film. There we go. Yes.
Yeah. I maybe even beyond a step beyond that, I would say.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, cromulent plus.
One, but yeah.
Cromulent plus, extra cromulent. Let's see, where was I? Okay, so I saw that the same day. I saw 3. Oh, we'll talk about the third one I saw later on. I caught up with this past couple of weeks. I made a concerted effort to check out and catch up with some more recent releases from the past year or so, the past 6 months. One of them being One of Them Days. I heard really good things on the Big Pick podcast about this. It's directed by Lawrence Lamont. This is also written by Sarita Singleton, I have to assume is daughter of or niece of John Singleton. Let's check out if that is true or not. Nothing on her wiki, but with that name,
sometimes people just have the same last names.
Sometimes they do. Let's see. This is starring Keke Palmer, SZA, and Kat Williams. Synopsis is two friends must scramble to find rent money after one of their boyfriends blows through it. So it is, I wanted to bring in some more comparison points of this movie, but it is kind of just wild, out there, funny comedy, but it's, it's one of those like, not to make a general reference, but super bad, sort of like, very funny, very quick-witted, but also has that heart of like, oh, we're friends. And then there's always that part and then around the third act where one of them fucks up and the other one starts yelling at them for real and they sort of split up but then make up at the end. It's one of those, but it's a very good, again, very, very well made, very competent one of those. So if you have Netflix, recommend checking out One of Them Days.
Yeah, I mean, I do really like that style of movie, and I feel like we don't get to see them that much anymore. And really, Netflix is the only place you will get those kind of films. Unfortunately, another mid-budget, genre that has died out. That kind of like, teen like party slash trip comedy. So glad that these are at least getting still made in some regard.
It is.
Was it straight to Netflix or did it get released?
Great question. Glad you asked.
It looks like it was released. I'm looking at the Wikipedia now.
Gotcha.
It did get a release in January.
Yeah. This past January. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I guess it did not last very long before heading over to Netflix because it began streaming Netflix in March. So, wow, pretty short, January 17th to March 31st. And it was released on digital in February. So yeah, these release windows, especially these kind of movies, are getting shorter and shorter.
Which is not great. That's not great.
No.
What I was going to say? Oh yeah, you were asking like if it's one of those, studio comedies that don't get made anymore. I made a TikTok recently. I'm doing a lot more TikToks, which is actually kind of fun for me. But I mentioned this in a video about stupid comedies.
You were like, people are asking me all the time. I'm like, who's coming up to you on the street and be like, Damian, where are the studio comedies? Is that something that happens to you?
People on the street coming up with me, tears in their eyes. Sir, please tell me, where are the studio comedies? And I say, calm down, don't talk to me.
You look like a film podcaster. Please tell me.
Yes, and I'm like, don't look at me. Why are you even? Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Ew, the plebeians, get away from me. But yes, I put this in the same category. I don't have the video pulled up or the other ones I mentioned in the video, but I take a picture of them on my phone. So let me see if I can find them real quick. Let me see. Yeah, One of Them Days, Drive Away Dolls, Theater Camp, Splitsville, Booksmart, and Snack Shack are all movies that are, they aren't say the same template as a studio comedy of like the 80s and 90s and early 2000s, but they're kind of the new ones. They are the new version of that. So if you like studio comedies of yore and you want to find out what one looks like today, then those are ones to watch.
I'll have to check this one out because I do like that genre of movie.
Exactly. So why don't we swap over to you for a bit? You checked out for the first time the 2015 Cinderella.
Yeah, this is one of those Disney remakes that I never just got around to seeing. It was one I was a little more interested in because it came from that early period of live-action Disney remakes when they were actually real remakes. They weren't just beat-for-beat recreations. This is a remake in the truest sense of the word. Also, that first original Cinderella movie is like 70 minutes long. It is a lean movie, barely a feature, but hey, this one. So they obviously had add a lot of stuff to this to bump it up to make it a full, movie. This one comes in I think about like a little bit over an hour 45-ish. And so I'd always been interested to check this one out. I never had really gotten around to it until now. And you know what? It is Cinderella. It is the same story that we know very well. But it's very competently made. I enjoyed this movie a lot, and the stuff that they added didn't feel like they added it just to buff the runtime. It did feel like, oh, you are actually making some decisions. There's a lot at the beginning that gives you not a lot of Cinderella backstory because it's kind of like you're like, why is she living with a stepmother and stepsisters? They kind of briefly explain it in the original 1950 movie. But this one, it goes into like her parents and the death of her mother and then her father remarrying and then his death. They actually spend a good amount of time on that where you understand Cinderella as a character a lot better. And not only Cinderella, but you understand Lady Tremaine, her quote-unquote evil stepmother, a lot better. She is just as evil in this, but a lot more. You understand who she is. You understand why she is the way she is. She gives this speech to Cinderella partway through the movie about, having, because she's also a widow, and that's obviously why Cinderella has her stepsisters, and her having married for money, or married first for love, and then marrying for money, and having lost both of them, and just kind of why she a little bit reviles Cinderella. And she is, of course, played by Kate Blanchett, and Kate Blanchett kind of raises the material up. I feel like quite a bit in this. She's really good in this movie. There's a lot of other stuff in it that gets kind of added. There's like this whole like kind of like subterfuge plot about the Duke is trying to get the prince to marry this other princess, and it's just like, is that Stellan Skarsgård with a mustache? He was like, the prince must marry. He is to marry the princess from wherever the fuck. So that stuff is kind of like a little more hit and miss. But there's a lot of like people you would not associate with being in like this live is like I said, Stellan Skarsgård, obviously Kate Blanchett, incredible in this. You also get Haley Atwell with just as bad of a dye job as Lily James in the main role, but she's very very good. And then the fairy godmother is Helena Bonham Carter, kind of playing against type, but she's very good in this. She's very fun. She's very bubbly. You know, if you've seen Cinderella, though, it's not a lot to add, but I think this is really what the Disney remake should be, rather than just doing, hey, we're just going to give you the thing that you've already seen, and now it's in live action. We're actually going to give you a little bit more, a little bit, deep in the characters, make things a little bit more interesting than they could have been back in the day. And beyond that, there's some really good costume porn in this. It is a really fun movie to look at with all of the like costumes, because it is this kind of, I guess, Elizabethan era / Victorian era inspired costumes, and some of it is really cool, really pretty. There's also a couple really garish ones from the evil stepsisters, the movie is mostly very muted colors, but they are wearing very, very bright colors that kind of go against that. But yeah, I think that overall this was a better than average movie, much better, I think, than most Disney remakes. There's some other really good ones, but I think this is, it's definitely in the upper echelon of those kind of movies.
Nice. And this was directed by Kenneth Branagh. Seems like a lot of these workman directors have been doing a lot of stuff. We just talked about Guy Ritchie, who did the live action Aladdin. So it seems like a lot of these guys who just workman, journeyman directors are kind of taking on a live action thing, and then go on to somewhat make their passion projects, I guess. Like Kenneth Branagh, those passion projects were Murder on the Orient Express and all of the other Agatha Christie adaptations he did. So it's very interesting the kind of paths directors take after getting their blank check, I guess, their movie. They make a live action movie.
He does this one. He did Thor. He's kind of he's a guy, because he's an actor, so I think he's a little more known than some of these working directors would be, because he's also in front of the camera a lot. But then he gets to make his like Belfast. That's his big one for him, I think. But yeah, this one, it's clearly like, hey, he has a good working relationship with Disney. He did Thor for them. He came back. He did this for them.
Huh. Is this? Oh wow, that's very interesting. He did. So he does. He does Cinderella with Lily James and Richard Madden, and then does a live stage taping of Romeo and Juliet with them too. So
interesting. Okay.
I wonder if that was kind of a deal where it's like, oh, if you let me do a live action Romeo and Juliet, I'll do the Cinderella for you. I wonder if that's how that worked. Huh.
Yeah, that'd be curious to check that out.
Yeah. All right. Very cool. Back to me for a couple. Just keeping with my Best Picture winner marathon, I'm slowly getting there. making my way through the big ones. By big ones, I mean long and dreary and kind of boring. This week we have the 1995 winner in 96, but came out in 95, Braveheart, directed by Mr. Mel Gibson. Man, so much Mel Gibson recently on my docket because of the blank check guys doing Peter Weir marathon, and Mel Gibson being in all those movies. And yeah, I'm glad to finally be done with Mr. Gibson for a while. This also stars Sophie Marceau, Patrick McGowan, Catherine McCormick. There's actually quite a few character actors in this, which I liked seeing turning up. I'm finally getting to the point where a lot of the Best Picture winners have people that are still working today. Well, some of those people being Brendan Gleeson, Dennis O'Hara. We got James Cosmo, Brian Cox. Pretty deep bench. Pretty deep bench here. We have Tommy Flanagan. If people don't know, he's the guy from Brothers. What's the show? The biking show. Sons of Anarchy. He's on that show. He's very notable for having a scar on his face. A lot of really good character actors in this that sort of fill out the world. And I guess that's the nicest feeling I say about this. It really does feel like a fleshed out world and feels like a lived in world. Feels like a world that took place in the 1200s. Interesting that I kind of didn't really pair this with, but I saw The Wind That Shakes the Barley recently, which took place in the early 1900s, but it's a very, very similar thing. England, the English Empire, has been, and for a long time, for hundreds and hundreds of years, been, the imperialist power that's taken over so much of the Western world and Eastern world, and they're kind of in their own backyard here, of taking over and oppressing and brutalizing Scotland back in the 1200s. Yeah, I think.
It really has some origins right here.
Yeah, it kind of is. So, similar idea of, England is occupying parts of Scotland. They are, for a time, in William Wallace's lifespan, when he's a child, they are occupying their homeland and killing and raping and pillaging and doing all that stuff. And he grows up and they have that, I forget what it's called, but it's basically like, this credence, this thing coming from on high is like, we can make love to your women just because we can.
Prima Notra, right?
Prima Notra, thank you. Yes. So that happens, and William Wallace is like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And spoilers for this movie, but his wife gets killed because they're like, we're going to do that to your wife, and he's like, no, that's not going to happen. So she gets killed, and it's the sort of thing that sets him off finally, and sort of radicalizes him to the war effort, and sort of takes up arms against England. It's interesting knowing this movie and knowing all the sort of touchstones, and especially the speech of him saying they can take our life but they can't take our freedom, is kind of like only a third into the movie. That's like the first major battle. There's like several other major battles that take place in this movie after that speech. So interesting that the speech that this movie is known for takes place quite early in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, this is definitely like an epic. Like back when they still made epics for like real things. Like it feels like the last one before Gladiator, and then like Lord of the Rings and stuff. But these big historical films that they used to make with like 1,000 extras and like 100 horses and like all this crazy shit. And it's a movie I haven't seen in a while. I remember liking it a lot when I was a teenager and I first saw it. But I don't know how well it would hold up nowadays. I mean, obviously not a huge Gibson fan. But yeah, it's just one of those like movies that has become, like, parts of it, like you said, have become more famous than the movie itself.
Yes.
So what did you think when Gibson, they were cutting off his balls or whatever, and he was like, freedom? What did you think of that whole thing?
That's fine. I must have looked away when they were cutting his balls off, but I thought, were they just torturing him?
I don't think they showed it, but they were torturing him. So I just imagine they're doing something. To his
they were
balls,
doing the rack. They were doing the stretch rack thing, and they were torturing him that way.
They just show him from the chest up. So I'm like, something's going on.
Something's going on down there. Not good. That was cool. Very. I forget the actor's name that's in this, that plays sort of. There's always in this, and The Wind That Shakes the Barley, there's that push and pull between the two guys are on the same side but not really. There's the one that's a pacifist, not like pacifist, but kind of wants to work with and sort of compromise with England. In Wind That Shakes the Barley, there were two brothers. In this, there was Mel Gibson, who's the more passionate, not really passionate, but the guy that wants to just end the tyranny as quickly as possible by bringing the war to them. And then they have the other guy on the other side, whose name is was it Dennis O'Hara? Is Steven maybe? Let me see. I forget the guy's name, but anyways, there's always that
Robert the Bruce you're talking about, right?
Robert the Bruce. Yes, it was. Yes, that was that guy.
Okay.
That sort of.
Yeah.
And he also takes his arms against him, which I thought was kind of weird, because they're on that battlefield, and there's the part where Wallace chases them down, and what's his name? Robert the Bruce.
Robert the Bruce. Yeah,
Robert the
he's
Bruce. Yeah.
Angus McFadden. He's a very Scottish actor.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like this with all the like machinations. This is almost like
Yeah.
speed running Game of Thrones, like in this
Yeah,
movie.
yeah, very true. Yeah, I took a lot of notes from that. Yeah, just speaking to quickly the part you said that the movies don't really get made like this anymore, where you have like massive extras in a scene. The boys, the series finale happened this week, and I've been watching the series as it's been unfolding, and it was just a shit show. It was just an absolute. Speaking of Game of Thrones, speaking of things that ended poorly, the boys ended very, very poorly, and one of the reasons for that was the last season felt extraordinarily contained and extraordinarily like just took place in a soundstage and took place not in reality, because there was zero extras. It just completely whiffed in terms of having a feeling of a feeling of, oh, this takes place in the real world, because there was no extras, there was no extra thing in the backgrounds, there was nothing took place on a wide field, everything was in small rooms, everything was with one or two characters. Yeah, not a great ending for the boys. Just gonna throw that out there, just because it came out this past week, so, and I watched it, so not great in my view. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that's what I've generally heard, is that they really whiffed the ending of that show. You know,
Yep.
I'm really far behind. I think I'm on season 3. Have not watched it really in years, but have heard from a few people that it was bad. You know, and whenever there's a season finale or a series finale or something, I feel like they always kind of relitigate, like, what are the worst ones? You know, is this worse than
Yeah.
Game of Thrones? Is this, you know, worse than whatever? And then people always come up and be like, shut the fuck up about the lost ending. It's great. You know, I'm one of those people. But yeah, so I feel like it's always one of those things where it's like, and people are like, has there ever been a good ending? And then people are like, watch The Leftovers, you idiot, it's perfect.
Yes.
And so yeah,
Yes.
this is yeah, it does not really make me want to go any further in The Boys, knowing that the ending is bad.
Yep, and we'll talk a little bit about the same sort of issues I had with another movie this week that I think we both saw, right? Did you see this, The Mandalorian and Grogu, or no?
No, I did not.
Yeah, very similar issues. So I'll just talk about that for a little bit now. It was very similar to The Boys, where it's just such a small, self-contained thing, which I think is kind of fine, because I get you can kind of get bogged down into, like, you know, trade routes and all of that stuff about the thing that people don't like about Star Wars. But yeah, Mandalorian and Grogu came out this week. I saw it. You know. It's got the people in it, directed by Dave, or not? It wasn't directed by Dave Filoni. It was directed by Jon Favreau, but it feels like very much directed by committee, directed by Filoni. Pedro Pascal is in this, I guess, if you want to say he is in this. A Pedro Pascal looking person was walking. A Pedro Pascal impersonator was walking the way that he walks and doing things in the way that he might have been doing them in the suit. Who knows? Also, quote stars Jeremy Allen White. And Martin Scorsese. The only human person we have in this movie that was actually there was Sigourney Weaver. Yeah. I don't even know where to start with this, because it's so much. Again, talking about canned stuff, I consumed 3 or 4 different podcasts about this show. I go back to the Red. What is it called? Red. What's the very popular and long running YouTube show? Red Letter Media. Yeah. So I watched a little bit of them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me your thoughts on them, because I have thoughts as well about the Red Letter Media folks.
I used to watch a lot of their stuff. I used to really like them, but Jesus Christ, they just they're just so fucking pretentious and negative all the time.
Yes.
Just be like, can you believe this fucking Leonardo DiCaprio guy? What a piece of shit actor he is! And like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's incredible. Yeah. Like, they're just so up their own fucking ass. They're these guys who love the smell of their own farts, you know?
Yes.
So, like, I just got over them very, very quickly.
Yes, which it's kind of weird that, like, being that negative on everything, and I've seen a couple of their videos where they have, speaking of The Boys, they have, like, the main actor, I forget what his name is, but they have him on different skits and stuff, so it's very funny to me that people like that can be so negative about everything still have, cultural cachet to have people on the show like that. But so the reason to bring him up is because I'm like, I don't want to sound like that. I want to sound like it's completely negative about this, but it's really wasn't. I guess it's not for me. I guess this is the best way to frame it. It's like, but it's also not for kids because it's very, very slow. This movie is incredibly slow. Like there's a 30 to 40 minute sequence where Din Djarin is like poisoned and Grogu has to like revive him over the course of like 30 minutes. So it's one of those things where I'm like, who is this for? Because it's not for adults who want like more Star Wars and want references to the stuff that they grew up watching, because this is not stuff they grew up watching. This is a brand new character. It's a brand new world. This is a brand new thing that they just started. So I'm not sure who this movie is for with the pacing, the way they paced it out, and just speaking to sort of the lack of world building or lack of like world, the scale of it, and also the environments feel dead. There's like nothing going on. It's just like this one guy in this one place, and how it feels so lifeless and so dead, because there's a scene in this and that we've seen a million times. And speaking of, Stagecoach from last time, they have a chase scene, which is literally like 10 to 15 stormtroopers following them back to their ship, and Djarin is talking like there's a million of them. He's like, "Oh my God, we gotta lose these guys. We gotta take care of them before we get back to the ship, because there's no way we'll let kill all these guys." And so they get back to the ship, and the thing is following. They're on this, not a speeder bike, but it's essentially like one of those long, wide, cars or whatever. And there's probably 4 or 5 stormtroopers on there, and they're like acting like there's a million of them. And they get in their, Mandalorian and his compatriots get on their ship, and the guys are chasing them, and the thing gets onto the ship, like in the loading bay or whatever, gets onto the ship, and what's his name? The big, the Hutt, Rada Hutt is the name of
Jeremy Allen White.
Jeremy Allen White's Rada Hutt is on the ship. So of course the big, the little dinghy that gets onto the ship, he pushes that off. They're like, "Oh my God, he saved the day." Not really. There was many ways you could take care of that, but it just speaks to like the lack of stakes is really a big deal here too. Where again, I'm not going into this movie being like, I wonder if the hero is going to live or not. I know the hero is going to live. I know they're never going to kill this guy. I know that, but there's just so many parts of this movie where it's just like absolutely no worry and no, there is no point at which I felt like his life was in danger at all. I never thought he was going to be hurt to any meaningful extent. So there is that, and it just doesn't look great either. And it just doesn't sound great. And I think I'm really interested for you to watch this, because I think Jeremy Allen White did not need to be in this role. I feel like the reason you cast a well-known actor for a voiceover role is one of two things. One, they're well known. They are well known, but their voice is well known too. So you put their voice into that character, and they're like, "Oh wow!" People are recognize his voice, but it's also a very distinctive voice, and it's a very it's a good combination for that for that character they're playing. Because if an actor is playing Jabba the Hutt, Jabba is a massive, big, bloated, big, strong dude. So you're expecting like, what's the I forget the actor that voiced Galactus in the most recent one, but you're expecting like a guy like that with some.
Oh, Ralph Ineson.
Yeah, Ralph Ineson, some guy with some gravitas, some deep bellowing, bassy voice for that character. And Jeremy Allen White is just not that guy. So again, I don't know why you cast him for that, but also. You could cast somebody like Robert Pattinson, who did an amazing job in The Boy and the Heron, who brought something new, brought some exciting, weird shit. That was an amazing performance, right? In The Boy and the Heron. It was like, so good. That was a very, very interesting choice. So Jeremy Allen White did neither of those things. He neither had a big, boisterous voice for this character, or neither decided to make an interesting choice. It was just him, and it sounded so flat and so bland, and I was completely taken out of it every time he talked. So that is pretty much all I'll say about The Mandalorian and Grogu.
I need to see this, obviously, like, it's been a while since we have a Star Wars movie. The first few seasons of The Mandalorian are so good, and then it trickles off slowly until it just becomes, nothing and uninteresting, and just I just kind of hate the Dave Filoni, like, everything's connected. You Rada the Hutt from the original Clone Wars movie that was fucking unwatchable is back. Now he's the bear, I'm just like, and it's actually this connects to Mandalore, and that connects to the sequel. I'm like, like that is so much less interesting than like stuff that Tony Gilroy was doing on
Yeah.
the on Andor. This is all it's connected in the Force, and blah blah blah. And you actually have to, and then it's like, oh well, Boba Fett, the Book of Boba Fett, it just becomes like a weird thing where it's like a backdoor episodes of Mandalorian. I don't like all that shit. I still need to see this. Because we talked about what our main review was going to be for this week, and we went a different way. And obviously I was on the cruise, so I did not have that much time to see movies at theaters this week. But we'll probably check this out for next time and give you my thoughts on it then.
Yeah, yeah. Let me get your thoughts on something else you watched this week. You checked out Jumanji Next Level. This is now remind me, is this the sequel or is this the first one?
Well, it's technically the third Jumanji, right? Because
Yes.
there's the Jumanji original variety Jumanji from the '90s, and then
Yes.
you make the Welcome to the Jungle is the Lego
Ah,
sequel,
yes, of course.
and this is the one that everyone kind of forgot existed. The
Yep.
next one they made that because it was just kind of pointless and unnecessary.
Yep.
And I never saw it, but it was my brother put it on in the room while we were on the cruise, so I watched it over the course of a couple days, and it is just utterly forgettable. It is just one of the most nothing movies you will ever see. Like no one does anything that interesting. Like it's all the same characters and character arcs from the first one. They do add a couple like, oh, here's an old character, and there's a couple beats where they're like, well, now some of the characters that were because it's obviously it's about four characters who go into a video game, but they've been switched up now. It's like, oh well, now the guy who was in the the Kevin Hart character, he's in Jack Black. There's a little bit of that. It's a little bit interesting. Danny DeVito gets in there, and The Rock is like, I'm doing my old man voice, and that gets very old very quickly. And it's weird because it's like Jumanji. You think of it's like Jumanji is like a jungle, like that's the whole thing. That's Jumanji, and there's a lot of this is like set in like a desert, and then set in like this like Game of Thrones like a mountain like that is like set in like the snow, So it's a little bit strange in that regard. It does feel the sequel like because it's like okay, the first Jumanji, great fun, right? Oh
Yep.
man, it's been so many years since we've been to Jumanji. We're getting all these new characters. We're getting a new spin on it. Now it's a video game instead of being a board game. And this one is like, there's two old people in it. That's the difference. So really just forgettable, skippable movie. I guess they're making a third one or a fourth one that is coming out later this year called Jumanji Open World. So who knows? Hopefully they do something new and interesting with that. Yeah, this is a pretty much just I feel like I've already forgotten the movie, to be honest. I watched it 2 days.
All right. Yeah. Nothing. Not everything needs to be, cinema, high art. Yeah. I guess.
Sometimes the movies you put on in the background while you're getting ready for a formal night on the cruise.
There you go. All right, I got a couple more things here on the docket. Again, catching up with things that came out fairly recently that I heard very good things about. We have Mike and Nick and Alice is a 2026 American science fiction action comedy crime film. A whole bunch of things. That's what movies need to be nowadays. I guess it's just it can't be romance. It's got to be romance comedy, romance sci-fi, romance whatever. This stars Vince Vaughn, James Marsden, and again Isa Gonzalez, Keith David, and Jimmy Tatro. This is on the list of things I mentioned in my TikTok about studio comedies, because this is also a very funny movie. It's essentially about a kid who gets, let's see, the plot synopsis is, let me find out on the, because they don't have the synopsis on the Wikipedia. Let me pull it up on Letterboxd. Have you heard of this movie, Derick?
Yeah, and it's one of those movies you see like pieces that come across your Instagram in just small moments, and I've heard a couple film podcasts talk about it. It seems like something I would like.
Yeah, and it is. I also heard a lot of stuff like you did, and sort of like, oh yeah, I'll definitely check that out at some point. But like I said, making a effort to see some recent movies that I need to catch up on. So the synopsis of Mike and Nick and Alice is: two gangsters and the woman they love try to survive the most dangerous night of their life. As if that wasn't enough, there's one wild ingredient added to the mix: a time machine. So a little bit of a spoiler there, I guess, but kind of is the premise of the film. But yeah, very, very funny, very it's a funny action movie. And I think again, speaking of those things don't get made anymore, it is here. It is out. They made that. Go watch it. It's on Hulu. Vince Vaughn, James Marsden have very good chemistry together. Vince Vaughn's doing his fast talking Vince Vaughn thing. One great element of this, which it's not a spoiler, it's not a plot spoiler, but if you want to go into this like not knowing anything, then I guess skip ahead a little bit. But they have an amazing long rant about Gilmore Girls and who is the best.
Yes, this is what I saw come across my feed.
Yeah, like they have a very long argument about who is the best significant other for Rory. I've never seen the show Gilmore Girls, but they have a very long conversation about that, and it sort of comes back at the end. So yeah, it's one of those. I think it's a movie that feels like this is the best iteration of the Quentin Tarantino school of screenwriting about having actors in movies talk about and make cultural references. This is sort of the best version of that. So if you like a good action comedy, studio comedy, this is that. On streaming right now on Hulu and Disney Plus.
Yeah, need to still check this one out. And I will just say, as someone who has watched Gilmore Girls, everything that they're saying is like it's very, very accurate to people who have had that same debate with people, and it is very spot on. They clearly know ball.
Know what?
They know ball.
They know ball, yes. We got another one here from this past year that I really wanted to check out in theaters, but didn't get a chance to. This is Faces of Death. Not that Faces of Death. It's a new one from this year, directed by Daniel Goldharber. Synopsis is: a woman employed as a website content moderator comes across a series of violent videos reproducing death scenes from a film. This stars Barbie Ferreira from Euphoria, Dr. Montgomery. I don't know how to pronounce his name. It's from the guy from...
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was in... Stranger Things, yes. Josie Tota, Aaron Holiday, a lot of people in this. Also, Charlie XCX pops up in this thing, so that's always fun to see. Yeah, it's one of the best... like slasher movies I've seen in a long time, which is essentially is. Not to get too much into spoiler territory, but it's a very good slasher, 90-minute slasher, but using the premise of the Faces of Death video, which was a cult, quote unquote cult classic, cult horror movie from the 70s. People thought it was real, people thought it was fake, kind of the original Blair Witch, but you can get different answers from different people. I've heard that some of them are real, some of them aren't. I've heard none of them are real. I've heard a bunch of different stories about it. So, but it is essentially a serial killer is using. He's making a new version of those videos and posting them online. And the woman that works there, works as a moderator, sees them and is like, "Hey, I think this guy is recreating these videos from this video to hide new murders," which I think it's a kind of an idea that I've heard before. I can't really think of where I've seen it before.
That's a lot of Minority Report. Spoiler alert for Minority Report.
Yes, that's what it was. Thank you. Yeah, I was like, wait, that sounds very, very familiar. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So there's that. It's Minority Report plus Faces of Death plus a horror movie. So yeah, interesting take on that. So yeah, check that out. It's on PVOD right now.
Okay, I mean, is it worth it? Like, because I would probably skip this. I don't have any nostalgia for Faces of Death. It's like the thing where it's like, oh, well, there's this popular thing, and this is an anthology. We gotta we gotta have an overarching story and connect them all. Is this one worth it at all?
Good kills, good performance by Barbie Ferreira. It's a good one of those if you're into that stuff.
All right, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Couple more here before we go back to you. Stuff I saw in the theater just yesterday. We have Passenger. This is directed by Andre Overdahl. I think I've seen a few of his movies. I did Troll Hunter in 2010, did The Autopsy of Jane Doe in 2016. He did Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark from 2019, and The Voyage.
Speaking of things that are like anthologies with a connected story.
Anthology with a connected story based on things from our childhood. Yep. Did The Last Voyage of the Demeter. Last two I have not seen yet. Those
are probably the best two of that bunch, to be honest.
Was it? Yeah. Have you not seen? What was the first couple I mentioned? The
I
Autopsy.
did not enjoy Troll Hunter.
No,
I haven't seen The Autopsy.
Autopsy of Jane Doe is very good. Very, very good.
No, okay. I haven't seen that one. I do really enjoy the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. And Last Voyage of the Meteor was fun. It was Jason Takes Manhattan, but with Dracula.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Let's see. So yeah, Passenger from this year stars Lou LaBelle and Jacob Scipio, and Melissa Leo. Yes, this is getting ravaged on Letterboxd. It's got a 2.4 right now. I liked it quite a bit more than that. It's not the best horror movie I've seen in a long time. I've obviously come on here and I'm the horror guy. I'm the horror aficionado, but this is not bad. This has some really good jump scares, really good atmosphere, really good camera work and shadow effects. I thought it was really well made. But very, like a lot of horror movies, very thin story, very thin plot. Doesn't really have a lot of good, doesn't say a lot about that human condition. I was like, okay, fine. Not every movie needs to be that. Not every movie has to make social commentary. It's just that this is a good, straight up, creepy horror movie about people on a deserted road at night being haunted by the passenger who kills people who get lost on the highway. So yeah, just a good one of those.
Okay, I mean, maybe a future episode of Underrated. We'll see. Stay tuned, folks.
Okay. And let's see. Do you have one more before let's see. Do you have? Yes, we do. Let's go back to you. You saw The Aviator. Is this the first time watch for you?
No, I'd seen it before.
Gotcha.
I saw it right on it came out. I had it on DVD, and then I watched it years ago. But the reason I put this on, the reason I rewatched it, is because it was one of the movies that was available on the cruise ship, and because I take the cruise ship leaves out of Long Beach, which is the Long Beach Harbor, right there next to the Queen Mary, and also what is currently the Carnival cruise hub where all the ships dock and leave out of. It's in this domed thing. It's just this dome building where you go through when you get through customs and all. I'll show your passport and all this stuff before you get on the boat. It was actually originally built to house the Spruce Goose. And that's where the Spruce Goose was kept for many years. The Spruce Goose, which is, of course, Howard Hughes's big old plane. And the finale of this movie, which features the Spruce Goose, is set in Long Beach Harbor. And so I decided, hey, you know what? I'm at this harbor. I'm leaving on this ship. I went through the place where this thing was highest. They still have a model there of the Spruce Goose in the terminal. I might as well rewatch this thing. And this is a fucking good movie. This is a great movie. One of those movies that I had not watched in a long time and kind of forgot how good it is. Leo is incredible. Everyone it is. It's got it's every 5 minutes you're like, oh yeah, shit, Willem Dafoe is in this for 3 seconds. It's just like Martin Scorsese kind of working at the peak of his craft. It's one of the best biopics ever made, and it is for a movie that is as long and depressing as it is surprisingly rewatchable.
Yes.
It's very engaging. Leo is doing his whole Howard Hughes thing. I really, really see why Leo and Scorsese would go on to do so many films. This is, of course, not the first film they would make, Games in New York, but this is really where they really broke out. Got some nominations and stuff like that, the Academy Awards. I will say, after seeing this movie, me and my whole family were vocal stimming "The Way of the Future" the whole rest of the fucking cruise. And for those who know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Great phrase there. One of those kind of, and I say kind of, forgotten Scorsese movies. It's an amazing classic. Didn't get enough love at the time of its release, but yeah, definitely one of those kind of gets forgotten. With all of his rest of his classics that he put out even around that time period.
Yeah, definitely, one that I'm glad I got to have an excuse to revisit.
Yeah, absolutely. Back to me for a couple more. Let's see, where was I? Okay. Yeah, one of my most anticipated movies of this year was not on my list, so don't worry.
Okay.
It was not actually on there. But we have a new one from Boots Riley, who's one of the most eccentric out there filmmakers. Hasn't put out a lot of films in the last couple of years. I think he's only put out one other one. Does a lot of work in music, does a lot of social justice work, a lot of organizing work, a lot of that kind of stuff. Let me see here. Yeah, just the only other movie he put out was Sorry to Bother You in 2018, one of my favorite movies from that year. Derick, have you checked out Sorry to Bother You?
No, it's been one that I'm meaning to get to. Yeah, I know, like Boots Riley's, like you said, he's mostly in other realms. I think this is his sophomore feature.
Yes.
So did not get a chance to check that either of these out yet.
Yeah, that movie stars somebody that I came across recently. I was like, where did she go? Tessa Thompson is somebody that was kind of the top of the world for a long time. But in the Thor movies, did a lot of those. Let's check her stuff here. Oh yeah, she was in some really good stuff recently that I need to catch up on. Hedda from last year, directed by Nia DaCosta, was in The Marvels. I forgot she was in that. Creed 3 and 23. So yeah, she's been around. Okay, I just forgot. I'm sorry, I forgot about your game there, ma'am. Let's see. So yeah, I love boosters. Man, this is wild. I need to look up the synopsis for this because I just need to wrap my head around this thing. I just saw this last night. Let's see, at a kind of, not a packed theater, but very, very lively crowd. They love this movie a lot. Synopsis is: a fearless crew of inventive young women turn shoplifting into a radical act of defiance. So this stars Keke Palmer. She's having a great couple of years that I highlighted on my TikTok recently. She was in Nope in 22, One of Them Days last year. She was in Hustlers in 2019. Apparently did a voice in Lightyear, which is one of the Pixar movies that I have yet to see. Was in Good Fortune last year as well. So really racking up a great couple years. We have Naomi Ackie. She was in Sorry Baby, Blink Twice. She was in Mickey 17, so an actress we both really like. Let's see who else. Taylor Page. I'm not really familiar with this person's work. Oh, she was in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. She was in Zola, so really good actress as well. But yes, let me see. We also have Elia Gonzalez. Oh, Isa Gonzalez again. She's popping up in so much stuff. Yes.
Hat trick.
Hat trick for that woman. Yes. We also have Demi Moore and Lakeith Stanfield, and also Will Poulter plays a really good role in this. So this is a really crazy, heightened movie. Everyone's in a very heightened, very stylish sort of mode here. It's really out there, really crazy. One of the most outlandishly, the costumes in this are insane. The music in this is amazing. I sent you a Spotify link to listen to. Yeah. So just tell me from the link I sent you for the music. Our job here is to describe movies, and I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this, describing what this is about. Just tell me what you gleaned from the song I sent you.
Weird as fuck. I was listening to it, and I was just driving my car, and I was like, people probably think I'm a psychopath listening to whatever the fuck is happening right now.
It sounds like clown music. It sounds like carnival music. It sounds like the thing I said in my review was Boots Riley is somebody that feels like he's beamed in from another dimension. This has such an amazing, unique style to it and different filmmaking that I've ever seen before. I don't want to say too much about it. I will say just go into this thing blind as hell and have a good time with it. And it's just amazing social commentary, amazing. This is kind of the Everything Everywhere All at Once of this year so far, of just man, where did this come from? Where did this person's ideas even materialize? I would go into this knowing as little as possible.
Okay. I've seen the trailers for it. Looks interesting. Definitely will have to check this one out. Along with a lot of other stuff, that's been coming out recently. Now that I won't be on a cruise, I'll be able to hopefully see a couple more things, and this is going to be included in that list.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to our review of the week. We got Curry Barker's Obsession.
I love you so, 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 so much. A love only the branch of a willow tree could conjure.
It's weird how you two are dating all of a sudden. Like, super dating.
I think Nikki is going through something.
Like what? Is she okay?
No.
Jeez, what kind of spells you put on her?
Nikki? I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you!
I haven't really been a big fan of Curry Barker. He's one of those guys that came across my TikTok feed and Instagram feed a lot recently with the shorts that him and his team have been making over the past few years. I guess he had a horror short film called Milk and Cereal on YouTube, which I have not checked out yet. He also had a movie short film called The Chair, also on YouTube, but I haven't really been catching up with that stuff. But yeah, really good to see YouTube filmmakers really making a name for themselves. Recently, you caught up with Iron Lung, which was directed by Markiplier. We could go down the list. Speaking of Everything Everywhere at Once, the Danielses really made their breakout stuff on YouTube with their shorts. Really amazing future we have with filmmakers starting out on YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So Derick, tell me what you thought of Obsession.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those movies you watch and you're like, holy shit, this movie is really good, really captivating, very interesting. By the edge of my seat, I cannot look away from the screen. I don't like this. Not that it's bad, but I am not enjoying myself at all.
Yeah.
It's a movie that you watch once, you're like, man, well-made movie. That's the only time I'm going to watch it. There was a couple next to me that walked out after, if we're going full spoilers, it was right after the face smashing brick scene. I'm like, yeah, I get it. It's very difficult to watch cringy movie, but I think it's really got a lot of stuff on its mind. Particularly about female autonomy and just like the male gaze, male desire, all these things. It does a really good job of being like saying all this stuff and just being a really good psychological horror. Obviously for those who aren't aware, it's this guy who's got the guy is almost like a r/nice guys guy,
Yep.
where he's like, hey, I've got a crush on this girl, blah blah blah, and then he finds a stick and like makes a wish, like, oh, I wish she loved me, seemingly innocent at first, and then but things get very bad very quickly. This guy you're just kind of like very actively rooting against this guy, and just even though it's from his point of view, and you're seeing the horrific things happen basically because of him. You're really feeling for the person who is doing that because she is really a prisoner in her own body in a lot of ways. It's almost like a sunken place kind of thing, because every once in a while she'll snap out for a second, and in those moments you're just like, fucking Jesus Christ. Some of the most horrific things are the most subtle things. I'm thinking of when he kind of first calls the hotline to be about the magic stick that he broke, and he's like, you want to talk to her, and it just screams. That was fucking chilling to me.
Yep.
There's the moment when she's like asleep. She's like, "Fucking kill me, fucking kill me." She's asleep now. Just kill me. And he's just like, "Nah, I'm not gonna do that."
He says specifically, "Is it so bad being with me?" It's just like, Jesus Christ.
God, that line. Yeah. So really, really tough watch. And in the end, when he fucking eats it and she just pushes off him, like she finally snaps out of it. She's obviously fucked up forever, has a horrible life, has just been through the ordeal. Her friends are dead. She's maybe going to jail for the rest of her life. When she just kind of pushes his lifeless body off of her, you're like, good for you. Good for you. Get the fuck out of there, girl. I loved it. Everyone in the movie, except for the one main victim, is just a horrible scumbag. But even you still feel bad for them when they meet these grisly ends, except for the main guy at the end. But yeah, like just like I didn't really know the backstory about the director going in. Finding out that he was one of these YouTube guys makes a lot of sense. I feel like a lot of horror is a very good pipeline for first time directors, and you would see that with like the Sam Raimi's and your Pete Jackson's back in the day. But now it's become more of like for YouTubers to kind of break in. It's a lot of the YouTubers make their first horror film because horror is a relatively cheap thing to make. We talked about how this only has a budget of about $1 million. Weirdly, Andy Richter it shows up in this. You're like, is that Andy Richter? But yeah, like a really phenomenal film, and it's one of those movies you walk out of and you just can't. It just sticks with you. You feel very uncomfortable. Like I just felt really awkward and uncomfortable the whole night. You walk out, you're like, man, men really are just terrible. Like they're just awful.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a movie that I'll be thinking about for quite some time.
Yeah, well said. I really, just to pick out a thing that you didn't mention, I think the score is very good. I think it has I think the scores for horror movies post like It Follows have been leaning too much on synth. I think it's a kind of a thing that's been overdone a little bit. I think there is just the right amount of like, it's not like a synth score, but it is that sort of electronic kind of droning whir in the background that does add to that sense of dread that you're talking about. Yeah, I mean, I think Indy Neverett gives an incredible performance. So many people on TikTok and other places have been saying, "Oh, she should definitely, get nominated for an Oscar or something." It's like I'm sorry, but that's just not how that works. I think there's been other people that have been nominated and won, awards for horror performances. Like this past year, we saw Weapons pick up an award. I forget the actress's name that picked up the award.
Amy Madigan.
Yes, Amy Madigan won for Best Supporting Actress, but that's because she's been around for forever, and it was like overdue, and it was an incredible performance. And not saying this isn't, but that's just not in the cards for her right now, unfortunately. But definitely deserves some sort of recognition comes award season. Michael Johnson plays as a main character in this, and I think he does a very good job of playing that sort of sad sack. Not really. I don't think it doesn't get into a red pill incel territory. I mean, the actions he does definitely does get into that territory, but I think, like you said, he starts off as nice territory, but then because of the thing that happens that, they were having a discussion on the film cast, and I think it got into a really gnarly territory just because Jeff is so tone deaf about this kind of stuff and just really didn't recognize how terrible he was being. He was making the excuse or he was making the argument that, and I don't agree with this argument, but he was making the argument that, based on the circumstances, based on the fact that it did work, that based on the fact that the thing he tried to do actually worked, made it so that the actions that he did later on were understandable. And it's like, no, it's not really understandable because, okay, if you're living in the normal world where these things don't happen and you crack the thing and you're like, I want this woman to love me, and you crack it and she does, and she starts falling for you, your responsibility in that moment is to go, okay, this person is not in the right state of mind. This person is not in control of their faculties. I would be and am committing rape by staying with this person in her current state. You just have to know that. Just the same as you serve somebody beer or you are on a date with somebody and they start acting weird, you cannot take advantage of that situation. And that's exactly what he does. And Jeff was, in his way of being like, no, it's just a weird situation. He was being the best he could be in that situation. He's like, no, he's not. He's taking advantage of it's an extraordinary situation. It's not a realistic situation, but you have to understand that at a certain point, especially like we mentioned, when her consciousness does bubble up to the surface and she does say, kill me, and he goes, is it so bad being with me? That's the point at which you go, okay, he knows he's doing a fucked up thing and he's communicating that with her and she's communicating that with him, and he's still choosing to be the asshole. He's still choosing to rape her. He's still choosing to be assaulting her at that point. So yes, I think he does. I think Michael Jackson does a very good job of portraying a very terrible person.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's like one of those things, like, just fucking, because he get the last possible minute after someone has died, after, like, he's, only because it's starting to come back on him and he might, get involved in this murder thing, he's like, well, I gotta go undo this now. I've got to undo this wish. Only then does he do it. And not when, like, it's like, oh, I just had to take her to the hospital because when she's waking up from this nightmare, she's stabbing herself 1,000 times in the face and acting insane and like alienating all her friends and and shitting and pissing and vomiting all over herself.
Yep.
Like only when it comes back on him does he like, oh, maybe I should undo this wish. Maybe I should get someone involved to undo this. And of course, his shitty friend is also just like, I want $1 billion, like, ooh. And so like it's just. It's he is an utterly irredeemable character, even in his moment of when he chooses to do the right thing for a second. He's about to and off himself so that she can be free. He starts to undo it, stick his fingers down his throat, and then there's that last kind of final twist at the end where you see that he kind of like he gets that little smile on his face, and oh no, she's done it to him. She's made that Chekhov's wishing stick is still in the room. She's wished for him. And I'm like, please don't end it like that. Please don't end it with like with the two of them. But luckily, the sleeping kills kick in. He dies. She wakes up from the fucking horrible nightmare, and we don't need to see anything else. She's not gonna be okay,
Nope.
But it's the best possible ending, I think, for such a bleak movie.
Yeah, and I don't want to get like into like specifics or be like, well, did he make the decision? When did this thing happen? So again, full spoilers, very specific spoilers for the very end of the movie. He's in the bathroom. He's going to kill himself because, like you said, it's finally come back on him. It's finally at that point where his life is over now because of what just happened. It's not about her. He knows that he's crossed into this place where he can't come back from, and now he's going to get in trouble because she killed his friend. She killed his friend because of what he did. So he's in the bathroom. He takes the pills. Now, I have to go back and watch this because I don't know exactly what happens and when. But I think, again, to the point of, will he take responsibility for his actions or wake up to the fact that what he did was wrong? He takes the pills, and I think he tries to throw up. He puts his fingers in his throat. I think to make the point that he still... I think she cracks the thing, makes the wish to make him obsessed with her, right? Now, my question is, does she do that before or after he tries to throw up the pills? Because if she does it, yeah, go ahead.
It's after, because you see him stop. He's like trying to stop, and then he just kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna go to her,
But does he stop because of the wish, or does he stop because he regretted taking the pills?
I think he stops because of the wish.
He stopped because of the wish.
He stops trying to throw them up because of the wish.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Because my thing was...
He can't even have the conviction to kill himself. He's about to undo the one good decision he's made in the movie because he's a coward. And then because she makes the wish, he stops doing that and goes out to see her. Gotcha.
Yeah, so none of his... he didn't make any good decisions for himself. No. Or for her.
Yeah,
no. Yeah, really well made. I think it's really, I do just want to say, being the horror guy, I've seen a million horror movies, and recently, post Hereditary, which Curry Barker talked about, Jesus Christ, being like 16, 17 when he saw that, which is I'm old, we're old.
Right.
He, post Hereditary, not just this movie, but I've seen a lot of like iterations of the scene in Hereditary where I forget the actor's name. I just had it in my mind. Something Wolf. Alex Wolf.
Oh, Nat Wolf.
Yeah,
one of them were boys. They're brothers or something.
Yeah,
one of them is in Jumanji.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
So he, in Hereditary, Alex Wolf's character smashes his face into the table over and over again, and I feel like I've seen some version of that a lot in horror movies since then, and there is that version of that in here. I feel like it was well done, but I think just going forward, I'd be like, maybe let's reel back a little bit from doing that very kind of now repetitive sort of thing there in movies, in a lot of horror movies. But yeah, I think a lot of the gore, a lot of the horror, a lot of the violence was really well done in terms of practical. It looked really good for the budget for the most part. I will say the part you started when you were talking about at the very beginning, talking about the people leaving after Sarah was her name, right? Nikki kills Sarah in the car after Sarah confesses her love to Bear, right? Which I thought, thinking back on it, he is so self-obsessed and so self-absorbed, but also he's obsessed with Nikki, which is ironic. He's obsessed with Nikki to the point where clearly Sarah has a thing for him, right? Because she's resting his head on his shoulder. She was talking to him a lot at the very beginning. She hugs him. She's the one that gives him condolences for his cat dying at the beginning, right? So looking back on it, I think, he missed the signals there, being such an obsessed weirdo, right?
I think he even missed the signals because Nikki, before the wish, even tells her, like, basically Sarah has a crush on you, and he's like, oh, I see her just as a friend. And I think that's because he's so, like, obsessed with, like, Nikki that he doesn't even he could have a potentially good relationship with this other person, but he loves the idea of this other person. And only when that becomes this whole spiraling thing where it's like when he's with, quote unquote, with Nikki, he's not even with Nikki, he's just with, like, he even tells her, like, be Nikki, and she's like, I'll be anything you want. And it's because it's not Nikki, it's just this like a thing that's obsessed with him. And then he starts to see something real, and he's like, oh, maybe. And then of course that comes back on him too, because he's such a piece of shit.
Yes. So we're running a little long, but I do just want to say, I don't know if you picked up on this when Nikki's killing Sarah and she's smashing her head into the brick over and over again. I felt like it looked a little stiff. There's clearly a mannequin in there, so I was like, oh, to the point where I thought it was like a dream or like a weird aberration. Like I don't know. Did you pick up on anything there about the kill there? No. Yeah, I thought
that scene was just so, like, horrific and just kept going on and on that that's all I gotta, like, zeroed in on.
Yeah. All right. So that is our review of Obsession. It's currently in theaters, making a butt ton of money. So if you want to see it, I would get out there pretty quickly. So yeah, very well made movie. Glad to see the horror is still alive and kicking very well in 2026. Yeah. All right, let's move on to Letterboxd assignments. I did check out my assignment from last time. Caddyshack, directed by Harold Ramis from 1980. Stars Chevy Chase, Rodney Dangerfield, Ted Knight, and Bill Murray. This is a great movie. I talked about last time coming and saying, well, maybe I'll come back and we will do the ranking of the most offensive and sexist and racist things in this movie. And I'm happy to report that there really wasn't too much of that. There really wasn't too much of stuff that really wouldn't work today. I think there's, a lot of... I'm trying to think. I think I saw this right after we recorded last time, so it's kind of not top of mind right now. But just the 80s boobs and 80s gross out jokes and a lot of dudes trying to bang women. And yeah, it's just, Chevy Chase is that guy. Chevy Chase is very suave and debonair and very funny with the one-liners. I thought Rodney Dangerfield is hilarious. I've always had a thing for old-timey one-liner comedians like that. Obviously... To
this day, I will still quote, that's a good hat. You buy a hat like that, you get a free bowl of soup. That's a regular Derick quote.
It's so fucking hilarious. But yeah, he's very funny in this. I love one-liner comedians. I grew up watching a lot of Mitch Hedberg a lot. So yeah, him and Stephen Wright and guys like that. One of my favorite comedians. So yeah, good little comedy there from 1980. Would recommend.
Yeah, I mean, it was a staple of one of those movies I watched probably way too young as a kid because my dad loved it. But yeah, it's a fun sports movie. I think I might have even covered it on another podcast when I did Underdogs. Maybe not. Yeah. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. This movie.
Very funny. So, yep. Did you check out your assignment, Tokyo Story?
They was not available on the cruise ship, so unfortunately they didn't have this. Nearly 3-hour long Japanese movie from the 50s that was in black and white. Unfortunately, on the Carnival Panorama, so did not get a chance to watch this one. So
yeah,
well, it'll be. I feel like our roles have reversed. I've missed like 3 in a row now.
Right,
and you've seen them.
Just watching them, doing the work, putting in the miles here. All right, let's go. Crushing the tape, as it were. All right. I said last time, I've said a couple times, I've cleaned up my watch list. I really went on a purge last time. So I really narrowed it down to things I actually will want to watch and will watch. So let's see what happens here. And hit shuffle, see what we get. We got a movie called Angel Dust. I put a bunch of stuff on here that was kind of random and hard to see, but it's very... Angel Dust is a movie from 1994, directed by Gakuru Ishii. Synopsis is: every Monday, a young woman is murdered in the subway, leading psychiatrist Setsuko Suma to investigate Dr. Ryoku's deprogramming of former sect members, like the cult members. So I was Googling around to find stuff that was like Cure, Kiyoshi Kurosawa's Cure, which is actually one of my favorite movies I've seen in a very long time. I saw that last year, and I've been on the lookout for anything like that. So that's what I get from Angel Dust, apparently. That's what I will be getting, hopefully.
All right, interesting to see what happens with that one.
Yes. Derick, spin the wheel of your watch list and let me know what you get.
All right, boom, 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 shuffle, and I have Steven Soderbergh's Side Effects from 2013. So, yeah, big fan of Soderbergh. He's made a lot of movies. This is one I have not gone to yet, so excited to check this one out.
Yeah, really good. I think I talked about it a couple months ago on the show here when I went through that Steven Soderbergh phase back a couple months ago. So, yeah, hopefully you will like it as much as I did. All right.
I mean, we talked about psychological horror being fun, so I think I might enjoy this one.
Yeah, that is what we're watching for next time. And for next time, coming out to theaters. Speaking of Renata Reitzev, we have Backer Rooms. This is from Kane Parsons. Again, talking about a YouTuber, talking about a guy who came up on the internet making stuff on the internet, get a shot at making a feature film. The stars Chiwetel Ejiofor, Renata Reitzev, Mark Duplass, Finn Bennett, and Lukita Maxwell coming out this week. Can't wait to check that out. Also, this coming Friday, we have Pressure from director Anthony Maras. This is in the 1072 hours before D-Day, with the fate of the world hanging in the balance. Pressure follows Dwight D. Eisenhower and Group Captain James Stagg as they face the impossible choice: launch the largest and most dangerous seaborne invasion in history, or risk losing the war all together. So it sounds like a straight up dad movie for the dads.
It's a real dad movie right there. Yep.
Real dad movie. Also up, we have Power Ballad from John Carney, one of my favorite directors of things such as Sing Street, Begin Again, and of course the classic Once from 2007, which won Best Song. I checked out Flora and Son from last time. I think he's on a little bit of a skid here. He did Sing Street in 2016, came back in 2023 with Flora and Son, which I wasn't too much a fan of, but hopefully he can right the ship here with Power Ballad. This stars Paul Rudd and Nick Jonas, so it should be an interesting thing there.
I mean, I'm definitely a fan of his as well. I know people didn't love his last film. I didn't see that one, but I've loved everything else he's made. Makes really good, not musicals, but movies about music, and creating music. So this one looks like it's more the same.
Yes. So for the following week of June 5th, already in June, which is kind of scary. Let's see. Whoops, I closed my thing by accident. Ruben. Let's see.
Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe. Yes. Directed by Travis Knight, who directed Kubo and the Two Strings, which is interesting because later in the year we have a new movie from that same studio, which Leica, is Leica, called Wildwood, coming out in October. But first, he did a movie this year called Masters of the Universe. I have the power! This stars Nicholas oh my God, so many names I can't pronounce these days. What the hell? Nicholas Galzine. Camila Mendez, Alison Brie, and Monica Morena Baccarin. Yes, Jesus. I cannot pronounce names for some reason today. Masters of the Universe. Derick, were you a fan of He-Man back in the day?
This was before my time. I'm going to be honest. So I have no nostalgia for He-Man, Masters of the Universe. My only connection to this is that I really like the She-Ra show from a couple years ago. That's my biggest connection to any of this stuff.
There you go. Yeah, I'll be there day one. I'll be checking it out. I think the best we can expect out of something like this is like the Dungeons and Dragons movies. The Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, right? From that.
Great movie. Love that. You know how much I love that movie.
Yes, I do. So hopefully we'll be getting something along those lines with Masters of the Universe. All right. The same week we have Scary Movie 6. It looks. I'll say two things. One, I hate I hate the trailer, and I hate the humor that they're going for. Have you seen the trailer for this movie?
Yeah, it looks fucking horrible.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And here's why. And it would probably be the same reason, is because the jokes are very boomer. Like the most, like if you were to shove into ChatGPT, like give me the most boomer humor, then this would be it. It's like somebody in the trailer, woman gets stabbed and she gets stabbed and somebody else comments like, oh my God, he stabbed her. And the woman goes, not her. My pronouns are they, them. It's like, what the fuck? Why would you fucking even do that? That makes no sense. I I don't want to give this movie any more air or any more platforms or whatever, but it's going to come out. People are going to watch it. So it's like there's that joke, and then there's another one that I was like, what fucking year are we in? Who wrote this? Like, are the Wayans like some right wing nut jobs now? Like, what is going on?
Dude, I don't know, man. It's just it's like the Dave Chappelle thing where it's like, can you believe that transphobes have co-opted my jokes? I'm like, yes, I can, Dave Chappelle. Yes, I can't believe that.
The other one that's in the trailer is what's her name? Anna Faris and Regina Hall meet together and like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in 20 years. What's going on with you? And Anna Faris goes, well, I'm a Republican, so I'm supposed to be racist. And Regina Hall goes, well, I think all white people are racist. It's just like, that's the most boilerplate, simpleton, fucking dumb version of the right wing bullshit joke. Like, what are you even doing? Like, are you going to come out after this movie comes out and people panic? Or are you like, well, that was the joke. We're making fun of right wingers. Like, no, you're clearly not, because you are just saying this straight up. And it's like, oh my God, what is happening?
Yeah, and like these parody movies, they're also like they have such short cultural content, because it's like, okay, like you're making fun of like movies that have come out recently, and the time, a couple of years down the line, it's like, okay, maybe we'll remember the references you made to Scream, but we're not gonna remember the references you made to like whatever shitty other movie came out in 2000, like 13 Ghosts or whatever. If they parody that, like I Know What You Did Last Summer, like if you parody that, it's gonna be like, who's going to remember the reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer? That's going to be inevitably in this movie. It's just boring, lazy, like lowest common denominator shit.
Yep, indeed. All right. The same week, we have one that I'm actually looking forward to, because the same director directed some of my favorite movies from the last few years. One of them being Snack Shack, which I mentioned being a great version of Superbad, 2024 version of Superbad. He also directed a movie from 2020 called Dinner in America. It's an extraordinarily underseen, underappreciated movie. This is a movie right up your alley for your podcast. This Dinner in America starred Kyle Gardner, which also this new movie called Carolina Carolyn. This was coming out this week. This stars Kyle Gardner and Samara Weaving. So yeah, I don't know the premise too much, but it looks very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a fan of Samara Weaving, so we'll have to, I guess, this is really the first time hearing of this one, so I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, looks very cool. All right, plugging time. Plug in the Medium and Substack. Not really doing too much work there. DamianSherman.medium.com. But I'm plugging away at the Letterboxd, doing a review on there. I'm 68 away from 2,600 followers. Go to my YouTube, Film Essayist on YouTube. Actually, it is just Midnight Film Pod on YouTube. Should change that for next time. Spotify for podcasters to make and distribute a podcast pretty easily. Go to all my Discords. I'm still punk trash on all the Discords. But right now, for the last week or so, last couple days, I've been plugging away, doing some TikToks, doing those about 3-minute long TikToks about the movies I've been seeing. It's actually pretty fun to put that stuff together. Like all the tools that they give you to make a TikTok these days. It's pretty easy to use. So having a lot of fun over there doing that. So go to Midnight Film Pod on TikTok to follow me there. Derick, what you got to plug?
My plug, as always, is the Underrated Movie Podcast, where we talk about films that are underrated, underappreciated, and ones that have slipped under the radar and passed most people by. I am about to start a new miniseries called Unreleased, where I'm looking at films that were made unavailable in some capacity. So the first one is going to be the unreleased version, or the unreleased film from 1994 Fantastic Four. Had a lot of fun talking about that one. Also going to be talking about The Fall, which was largely unavailable for a long time on DVD or streaming up until 2024. There's going to be talking about Bandersnatch, which along with all other content on Netflix that was a kind of choose your own adventure style has been removed. I'm going to talk about a silent film, Greed, which is partially missing. Most Dangerous Game from a whole platform that no longer exists, that only existed for about 5 months. Tubi, Togo, which was originally made for Disney Plus, but is no longer available on any streaming service, because that has been a trend right now where things will come out for a streaming service and then they'll be like, actually, just kidding, this original movie does not exist anymore. And then capping it all off with the granddaddy of films that people clamored for years to see that was unreleased. That is Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League. So stay tuned for all of that. Really hope you guys all tune in, check that out, because I've already recorded a little bit of that. And I hope you guys stay tuned, because it's going to be all through June, July, and August. So over the summer, going to be releasing episodes on that.
Nice, yeah. We're both pumping out the content. We're both being good little content machines over here.
Indeed.
Indeed. All right. So for Midnight Film Society, I've been Damian.
I've been Derick.
And we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Way of the future.
Way of the future.